Hello, all you beautiful Elite families. Welcome to the Be Elite podcast. Today we have Maddie, Cindy Lou. Oh, there you go, Maddie, Cindy Lou. And of course, we have our guest for today, Miss Ciceri. But first, I'm going to pass it on to Cindy Lou so she can do the announcements. Go ahead.
Thank you, Leslie. The announcements for today are for the week of the 14th to the 18th, and on the 14th we have from 12 to 1 p.m. We have the Hope Vision Center presents free virtual Zumba classes, and 4 o'clock to 5 p.m. we have a Venture Academy a series, monthly webinar series. From 6 to 7 o'clock we have the Elite Parent Monthly Workshop. And on the 15th, we have from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock the art scene junior webinar. And from the 16th, we have the PFC webinar series. And from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, we have the chorus meeting. And from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, we have the Elite Athletic speaker meeting. Webinar series, And on the 17th, we have from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have the art scene high school monthly virtual event. Ms. Ciceri, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about your roles here at Elite?
Sure. Thank you guys so much. Be Elite podcast. Awesome people that I've been watching. I'm a fan already in just the few episodes that you guys have put out. And I even added the Earth Punk stuff to my list of gifts that I'm going to get this year, because that was really cool for you guys to showcase your peers and what they're doing too with the project. So thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this today.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. I'm Amy Ciceri. I am the visual and performing arts lead. Oftentimes we use the acronym VAPA. So if you ever hear VAPA thrown around, that's what it stands for. Anything related to music, acting, dance, performance through, getting on a stage, theater, film. I'm your go-to here at Elite. And honestly, I was so fortunate to make the decision to come here. I had a job that I absolutely loved, and students who I still am in contact with at my former school. And I chose to come here because I have a vision. And like most artists and creative people, we follow our gut and we follow our vision. And I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be to help students become the artists that they are from within. No matter what pathway or career they're going into, these formative years, K through 12, for students are so important for them to build confidence, to validate their own ideas. Even when everybody else thinks you're crazy, I always say that's the green light. That's the green light for you to go with it, because it's not crazy. It's just different and it's new. And a lot of people haven't thought about it yet. So don't throw it out. Develop it and fine tune it, and no matter what it is, you're going to use those creative skills and that confidence in whatever industry, and you're going to love it because it's part of your foundation. And so I was fortunate enough to grow up idolizing high school kids. My mother built a performing arts program, a choral music program from scratch. And at the time as a kid, I didn't realize the value until I was older. And now I really realize the value that I had learning by just being in that high school environment all the time and watching these high school students and really understanding what the progress looks like, and it was reachable. I idolized these high school students for, the first 25 years of my life. I think of them more than I do some of my idols that are like the huge celebrities. I think of these students that were the high school students that were truly my mentors and inspiring me to pursue what I want to, So that's a little backstory, but I'm here to create VAPA courses that are going to go from right now. There's an introductory acting, choir, and musical theater course. So if you have no experience at all, it's the perfect place to start. And then there's going to be a, step-by-step progress, intermediate, advanced level, CTE, pathway aligned, A through G, UC doorway aligned, so that those of you who are college bound, there's a pathway for that. And then those of you who are just wanting to focus strictly on the arts and go to the CTE route, that's part of the design too that I'm here getting to do. And it's crazy, you guys. You have visions, follow them. I used to tell my students 2 years ago, they will tell you. I used to say, I'm like, I just want to be in an environment where I get to really create curriculum. And it was weird saying it because I wasn't quite sure. And you should always say your ideas out loud with people you trust, because it's kind of, they're your soundboard and you're kind of validating your own thoughts and ideas. And so, literally, I'm here right now with the opportunity to design brand new curriculum. I was always able to design my lessons. And I came from a school where I was developing a program from scratch as well. So I get to have that opportunity a second time, which is very rare. A lot of teachers and educators don't get to do that. They start with a program that's already in process. So I just came from doing that for almost a decade. And then now I'm in this virtual setting, figuring out a way to do it effectively and meaningfully for students. And it's working. It's like anything new. It's a transition, and it's a lot of trial and error, but it's so much fun because I feed off of you guys, the students, and your creativity. So I'm also doing the clubs. I think you guys are going to ask maybe about the clubs separately. Do you want me to talk about that now?
Yeah, well, you can tell us more about the clubs that students can join. Like, I've seen that there's a club of art scene, core us, and connection scene, right?
Yeah. Well, the connection scene really is more of a webinar series idea that I came up with to just bring professionals from the industry, all types, writers, poets, singers, musicians, dancers, all types of artists, once a month or every other month. We're kind of feeling it out right now because it's brand new. And live webinars for you guys to just connect. And that's for all students. And then the Core Us is the chorus, but it's spelled CORE. And then second word us, because at your core, like, who are we? Your voice. It's a virtual choir club, you guys. I've never done it before, but we've all seen it. Most of us have seen some virtual version where you see the grid and things going on. And I always love to just work with students and figure out how to build on their own strengths and ideas, and get inspired by what's out there, but let's create our own thing too. So the chorus is for you guys that love music and really want to develop the instrument that you were born with that costs nothing. And I think it's the most valuable because nobody else can buy it. They can't go in Guitar Center and go buy Betsy's Voice. And I can get a really cool Fender guitar or a Taylor, and I could, a cool piano, but I can't buy your voice. And so if you develop it, Cindy Lou, you're in the chorus, and it's been so fun hearing you sing and develop this original, truly unique instrument that you have. And nobody can take away from you. It's powerful. Even if you don't go into singing, it's your voice, and that's symbolic for so many, in so many ways. So that's the Core Us. And then the art scene is, again, a student club. These are all student clubs. I mean, the art scene is the most student driven in the sense of, I don't want to call it my club. It's not. It's a student club. I used to be an ASB activities director for 6 years, and I built a program as well for the activities. So I'm all about getting out of the students' way and letting students create their vision. And I will be there to make sure you're safe and you don't get hurt. And in the fun process, because let's be real, sometimes we get hurt when we're having a lot of fun. And really just be there to be the soundboard and help make the students' visions happen. So the art scene is really a safe place for people to congregate, whether it's music, painting. We have students in there that love architecture, and they're connected on that. They love painting, they love writing, they love singing, dancing. They get a group of people that they can trust and they can just share. I remember in high school, the first time I really shared one of my original songs with my high school sweetheart at the time. He's like a huge record producer now, like huge. He was mentoring on American Idol. It was pretty cool. But he heard me singing in high school, and he's like, dude, you're really good, and you sound like Tori Amos. And he took me to my first Tori Amos concert at Pantages Theater, and I was crying. I was sitting there. We didn't say a word to each other the whole time because I was mesmerized by this artist, Tori Amos, who's an icon, playing her piano and doing her thing. But I remember sharing one of my original songs with Tim at the time, and I was so nervous. I was so, as much as I knew he supported me, he was my friend, and we had a relationship, but I was so freaked out to share it. And I didn't have a setting like this to just really test the waters of my own art. So you guys know, if you create something, it becomes kind of like your little baby, and it's hard to get feedback on it and not take it personal sometimes. But that's something we all practice. And it's going to be the thing that drives you towards the relationships that are most valuable to you, because you're going to get people around you who tell you the truth, and they help you reflect, but they don't force you to change your mind. They encourage you to follow your gut, and again, inspire you to think or rethink about your approach, and that's what I wish for every student, every human on this planet. We only just at least one person. You don't need a lot of people doing that throughout your life. Just a few quality people, you can really trust.
Like a people pleaser.
Yeah. Say that one more time about people pleasing, Cindy.
I just said someone not like a people pleaser.
Yeah, I used to be a people pleaser. My dad was a high school art teacher at the same high school, taught drawing and painting. All the paintings hung in my house were from my father, who passed away in 2014. And I know when I was in school, we weren't taught critical thinking skills so much. I just knew, I'd watched everybody follow the rules, and I just knew the school system. Does that make sense? So the people pleasing part came in there, and that got in the way of my creativity at times, because I knew what I was supposed to do. But then I was fortunate to have parents who were artistic and understood when I zigged this way, when everybody was zagging that way, So yeah, that's a good topic. People pleasing. That's what we do in the art scene too. We just talk sometimes, right? People just share their stories. We listen because we get inspired. Say that again, Cindy.
I said we did for a long time.
Because I think it really starts, like, no matter what art form it is, it starts with people's stories.
Yeah, and I also think that it's a good outlet to just let go of your worries and your frustrations too. Because to be honest, there's no other way to express yourself, creatively, and I think that that's what's great about singing and playing an instrument, because you get to express yourself that way. And that's what I really like about that part of the performing arts and stuff.
Yeah, it's the safest way for you to go through the entire range of your emotions. We're emotional creatures. We're humans. We're all the same. We know what it feels like to be joyous and full of love and happy. We know what it feels like to be heartbroken and angry. And so we need art to have a safe place to put that, where nobody's getting hurt. If anything, people are connecting. I've gone to concerts where, dude, they're doing full-blown mosh pits, and I'm not going to go in there because I will lose a tooth or something. I remember understanding it though, and going, okay, people are like, why are they running around because I love rock and roll. I love it. But there's nothing violent about it. They're letting out the emotions. They're connecting. They're looking at each other. These strangers, they understand each other. And they don't have to say anything. It's through the music, like you said.
Yeah, they all relate to each other. Because, other people would be like, oh, rock, it's I don't know, devil's music or something like that. And I'm like, but, you just have to, process through it. And some it's okay that some people don't relate to it and stuff, but because people have different opinions. But it's a matter of relating to what they're going through, or understanding what they're going through also.
Totally. Yeah, no judgment. That's my theme every year. No judgment with art. Liking something, not liking, okay, sure, no problem. we all have favorite flavors of ice cream versus others,
Yeah.
But I do encourage students to really think about when they judge music or art, because honestly, they're judging a person at the end of the day, or a genre, which is a culture of people, a group. And we don't have to do that. Like, whoever said we have to judge anybody when it comes to the way they want to express themselves? And so I love having to remind myself that, like, I don't need to judge. That's just one more thing. We have enough going on in our lives, right, you guys? You're inundated with like so much stuff, Why add judgment? Why add all the commentary that doesn't need to be there? So that music, your art should be the solitude and the sanctuary, your best friend, your whether it's journaling for writers, right? It's like, it's the truth. It's your truth. It's your personal truth and your experiences.
Yeah.
You're saying that reminds me of the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. I feel like people are like books and you don't judge how people look because you don't know what the story inside of them is.
Yeah. One of the, in my VAPA courses I'm designing, the first unit, we talk about identity and, use the iceberg metaphor, where really what we observe through our eyes of people is the top, what's above the water line, right? But the majority is below the water line, which is the story, where people are from, their culture, their experiences. And there's so much value there. And if the world would be so different if people just remembered how valuable life is. All life, humans, life, we're part of this universe. That means we're all connected. So, we all know I keep it simple, right? We all know what it feels like. Treat people how you want to be treated, kind of thing, because we know what it feels like to be mistreated. But anger, again, sometimes we hurt people because we're mad. But that's not what we wanted to do, really. At the end of the day, we don't want to make people feel the pain we feel, And so it's so cool that you guys get these critical thinking lessons today that I didn't have. That's one reason why I did have them. I had them, and they were called musicals that I grew up watching, like A Chorus Line, believe it or not. I watched that like fairly recently. I grew up on it. And the director in The Chorus Line, the whole premise is he's trying to get these actors, these performers, to be real and not put on an act. And he's yelling at them, like, tell me who you are. Who are you? And so each character goes through their story. And I grew up watching musicals. I grew up loving movies like The Breakfast Club. When I watched The Breakfast Club, I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't have critical thinking times like that. We hung out, but man, there was a lot to cover up and put on, and that came from my family, my parents' generation, and the generation before them of don't let them see you sweat, kind of thing, or don't let them see your weakness. But I'm a huge social science nerd. That's what my degree is in, and I love all the research and data that is out there about vulnerability being equivalent to true courage. For me as an artist, I sing and songwrite. When we're acting, we have to put our emotions on our sleeves. We got to put ourselves out there and be vulnerable so people can emote through us, right? And get through whatever they're getting through, with the help of us being able to show it and demonstrate it. So it's always been normal, but now it's in the research, it's in the mainstream, it's even in the military, you guys. They're teaching military leaders and personnel to be vulnerable, because that's where organizations go, or teams go down, is when they don't want to look vulnerable because they're afraid of looking weak. So then all of a sudden it's too late to solve the problem. Where if they could have just said, I made a mistake and we need to fix this. I'm human, right? We're not robots. We're not perfect. So I love all the research now, because it's really aligning with what's foundational in the performing arts. It's cool.
Like when you're vulnerable, I feel like when people need to be vulnerable in order to make good relationships.
Yes. I just laugh because I am so lucky that I get to teach the subject matter that I teach, because we have so much fun sharing stories, whether it's reenactments. And I've been with my husband for 22 years. We met when he's a guitar player. Those are not my guitars. I'm the piano player. I can play a little guitar, enough to write a song, and then show a real guitar player what, maybe I'm going for. But relationships evolve, and you need people around you. I was just thinking this last night. You need people around you who have seen you in your worst, your sick, and your best as well. So they just let them see everything so that they can help you. They can be that.
You can't truly love someone until you see their worst and their best and every part of them.
Yeah, so true. So true. And we make mistakes, man, but we help each other. It's like, my dad taught me humility. Not to get heavy, but my dad, he was a recovered alcoholic, thank goodness, for over 34 years. When he passed away, he almost lost everything. He almost lost a lot. And I'm not trying to be heavy, but I teach primarily high school too. And these are some real, performing arts is where everybody gets to share their real human issues or problems and connect and go, oh, wait a minute. Okay. It's not a battle. It's not, oh, well, that's not even bad. Let me tell you about mine. Cause I do have students telling me that online, I don't have a social media account. I've never had one, but I love and I don't judge it. I'm not judging y'all that have it, but just, I don't see the personal reason for me to have it right now in my life. I will get one if I need to, but they always say it's competitive. Like people are trying to top, the people's hardships is what students have described. And it's not a competition. It should be just listening and empathizing, right? And trying to grow and be so glad that they opened up. I'm like, anytime somebody tells me something, like that's a gift. That is a gift, because right then and there, they're showing you that they trust you. And then when I've seen my classes do it, it's magical, because they all start to say like, wow, me too. Or I thought it was just me. And the tears come out, and some heavy days that I can't predict. Teaching what I teach, I can't tell you what's going to happen every day, because it's so student driven, and it's me really paying attention to them and seeing what's going to resonate. We goof around, we have a lot of fun, and we laugh hard. We laugh, cry a lot too. But we realize that we all got something. If you don't have something yet, you will, because you're human. If you already had something, great. You survived. Please tell us about it. If you're going through something now, let us help. Reach out. Know that you're not alone, kind of thing. In the arts, I've always had students joke at the beginning of the year, and they're like, what is this, therapy? I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, because music and the arts are cathartic. But it's not therapy. It's human connection and trying to really look each other in the eye and feel something, sometimes without words, right?
Yeah.
That's why I love the Art Scene Club. I feel like I can say anything there.
Awesome.
I say things there that I don't usually tell anyone. Like my writing piece, I haven't shared with anyone. Only the Art Scene Club I share.
In your writing, again, I think I said this to you before we started recording today, but I've been thinking about what you wrote. It resonates. And this is what's crazy, you guys, is the human connections that you have. Sometimes they're short. Sometimes it might only be a 10-minute encounter or exchange with somebody. Sometimes it's a whole year course or years, right? With being around somebody. I don't really put time on it, because all of you can think about somebody who you won't ever forget. And it's because they were able to trust, listen, and definitely not judge. The judgment's like, you might as well just I'm gonna put this up. Let's just carry on, guys. Let's have this interview. And no way. We all know what that feels like. And that's where our defenses go up, right? We're like, man, I really want to, but I can't, because in my gut it doesn't feel right. And we're energy, right? We're made of energy. And so we sense things. So I encourage you guys, just always follow your gut, follow your heart, follow that instinct. Sometimes you can't explain it. That's okay. Put it in your song, put it in your writing. That's why we take a picture. That's why, you'll explain it later in retrospect, maybe. For me, it's like some things haven't been figured out for 20 years where I'm like, oh, thank you. So you got to be patient. You guys are young, be patient, and it'll work out. I promise.
Well, to another question would be, can you like, I guess, give a little demo of what it would be like to be in one of your clubs, like for the students, like how they would interact and stuff?
I wish I had my piano right here set up. A demonstration of what in the class you said, or in the club, either or.
Yeah, either or. It could be the class or the club.
It's a lot of. There's always a plan as far as lesson, and what topics, objectives we're focusing on, but so much of it's improvised. So one of the things I can say is, it's like connect the dots. I always like to say, follow the dot, because the dot can go do 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 do. Still, at the end of the day, if you connected them, it'd make a really cool pattern.
Yeah.
But, it's because it depends on what the students put into it. That feeds the progress. So, for example, a recent one for, I don't remember if it was the art scene or the chorus, because they're very similar to me right now in these beginning stages, where I shared a song. It was the day of my late grandmother's birthday. And when I was in high school, I wrote her a song called Goodnight. And so it was the anniversary. It was on my mind. I wasn't really trying to think about it, but it just kept coming to my mind. So I sang the song. I'm like, guys, I want to sing it. And that was me being vulnerable, because it had been so long since I had played it that I knew I'd make a mistake. I knew I'd probably forget what chord progression. I knew that it would be an emotional experience for me, because I'm not prepared or rehearsed, but I just wanted to, again, as a human, I want to have new experiences. So the best way to demonstrate those clubs, it's about seeking the new experience that adds value that you didn't even expect. Expect the unexpected is a saying in the industry. And that's life, right? I mean, especially 2020. Hello. My students, my former students, we still, because I don't have social media, they all have my number and we text, and man, it's funny to see them throw out so many things that they've learned in performing arts that are completely real world relevant. It's like, well, they're ready because they've been on a stage and they know live anything can happen. Their hat will fall off. They might fall off the stage. They might miss their cue. They might sing a bad note. There's so many things that could happen. And the freak out beforehand, before the curtains open, I mean, that's real life, and the more you do it, you realize, wait a minute, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to use my head. I'm going to think. I'm going to breathe, first of all. I'm going to look around me and see these amazing people on stage with me, even if it's myself, by myself. Maybe that's sometimes right. Then you imagine yourself in the audience watching you. And you're like, yep, I saved that seat in the audience for myself, watching me up here. But when you have a cast around you, oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite things, to look side to side and be like, this is amazing. You don't forget those moments ever, because it's scary and you don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of, I've spent every year a lot of time equating the military with the performing arts in the sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. You are there for each other, these supportive roles that have to be there. Otherwise the operation or the performance, it will not happen. And there's a directive, right? You got to trust your director. The director says, you got to do this. And from your perspective on stage or in the rehearsal, you might not understand it, but the director doesn't have time to tell you. Just like the top leaders of the military, it's chain of command. They're not going to tell you because there's no time. So you have to trust, and it feels awkward. But that's the whole beauty of it, is because there's true fear involved. There's real trust and depth and human connection that, again, it doesn't always have to be heavy. It could be funny. I mean, most of it, I was just laughing last night because I was watching a video that reminded me of a student's performance. And I couldn't stop laughing, because it was, again, what we see people do that surprise us, right? It's those new experiences. We don't forget that. And as a teacher, I'm always looking for those those steps that students make where you're like, yes. And one of my wishes as a teacher always has been, I wish students could see themselves through my eyes, because they truly wouldn't doubt themselves. I see the potential, and this is most, educators, this is why we love what we do. We see where a student can be, their potential.
Mm-hmm.
Just see how we see them, then they'd be fine. we wouldn't have to spend so much time convincing them to get out of their own way, so that's why, I deeply value the fearless students who are just like, hey, I'll just go for it. I've had students that are just every performance opportunity, they're on that stage, and they're not the best performances. Sometimes they hit it, sometimes they miss it, but that's great because we talk about it afterwards and we laugh about it, and they have a true experience to look at and go, awesome, that's what I did. If you didn't have that to look at and reflect on, that's real fear to me, is going, what if I would have done it, and not having an experience to actually reflect on. That's, to me, that's scarier than anything,
When you go on the stage and the feeling of your heart beating very fast whenever you do.
Oh my God.
It's so hard.
My first piano recital. Go ahead, Cindy.
I was just gonna say that always the good always outweighs the bad. The evil. Bad. The good always outweighs the bad. So, like what you're saying, the what if just remind me of laying awake, saying, what if I did that? What if I did this?
Because you did it. That's where, I can be honest, and there's so much judgment for performers. It's kind of unfair. I love sports. I love watching any human go for it. I love the Olympics every 4 years. I love the World Cup. I just love watching humans passionate and going for whatever it is that makes them do that, right? For artists, it's a little harder because we do have that emotional component, and it's usually ourselves that we're putting out there, our name, versus like being more known as a player or a part of a team, if that makes sense. It's like you feel it more personally, and people are less forgiving. You hit like 2 bad notes and people are like, ah, versus like, I don't know how many professional basketball games I go to, or Dodger games where they miss the throw and they get paid millions of dollars and they overthrew it. We're human. Let's be real, and I'm not judging them. I love seeing them go for it, but it's like, for some reason with the arts, the level is elevated, and what's great is students get to learn how to evaluate and watch the professionals and know the choices they're making live to fix their mistakes that are happening. Like, if I was going to start singing right now, there's a good chance I'm going to make a mistake, but I could roll out of it, especially if you were all paying me money and this was a live show and I was charging you ticket price. Then I'm going to definitely cover up my mistakes the best I can. And that's what the professionals do. That's what they're really good at. I love stand-up comedy. Watch stand-up comedy. I just love it. And you can see where they are reading the audience and they know that joke did not go the way they thought, because it's really subtle, but they're just so in the moment, and they're making adjustments and improvising to solve it. And it's awesome. We can't take ourselves too serious. Life is too short. And you guys are so good at so many things. I promise you. Humans are good at a lot of things. So during these formative years, I just encourage students to really try so many things. Don't just say, well, this is my thing, that's all I'm good at. Well, when you expand and expose yourself to things that are very different, you're going to take those creative experiences that you gained and you're going to bring that back to what you're most passionate about, and you're going to have a little twist. You're going to have an edge, It's like musicians. They always say that most successful musicians love all types of music because it's what makes them so unique. It gives them their own sound because it's a potpourri of what they grew up listening to, and people hear them and they go, wow, you sound so different. You got a little this, you got this. And they're like, well, yeah, because they didn't isolate their creative process to just being in one lane. They really were
have your options all open and spread out.
Yeah, open-minded, right?
And different things. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to stick to one thing. You can always change it later.
Yeah. Love that.
And
Go ahead.
you always have like the freedom to just do whatever you want, really, and just like not really worry about, well, yeah, like kind of like what other people do, what other people think about, but it's like it's you, it's a part of you, and you have the freedom to express what you want to do, and yeah, like you could just do anything. You have the freedom to do whatever you want.
That's why I love rock and
Yeah.
roll so much.
Yeah.
Rock and roll really became rock and roll because of the teenagers at the time going,
Mhm.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
this makes perfect sense. I mean, all the older people were like, this is, like you said,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
world comes to an end. Every generation, if you study sociology, every generation says that about the younger generation. It's going
Yeah.
pots, you know. But no, it's you. I love teenagers because you are supposed to be rebellious. You're supposed to be questioning life.
Always
You're supposed to,
authority.
yeah, you're supposed to be respectful. Please be respectful. You know, like pretend your teachers are the people that your family members, your moms, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, because they are. At the end of the day, that's who they are to somebody else. So when I struggled with personality indifferences with people, it's taken me time to practice it, but I really just see them for who they really are. I only know a small part of who they are, right? But other people really know who they are, and they're loved and they're cared about, and there's tremendous value there if I want to be open to seeing it, right? So
like a book, you only read a couple of chapters of it, you don't know completely like other people know. Like you.
Love that. Yeah, love that analogy using the book. For sure. You're never alone. You know, there was in a library, I remember seeing a sign, read. Like I love reading. I wish I could do it more. I'm because reading will change your life, right? So much. A book for each month, and then ask yourself how much your life changes in 6 months. It will be extraordinary. But you're never alone when you read a book. And you can apply that to music and all different types of art forms. You're never alone. There's something that you're connecting to that, again, we don't have to worry about labels. We don't have to know how to properly categorize it. Some people, I think I call those just distractions. Let's just move forward, support people, make sure people are okay. If they're not, reach out. I mean, it's the smallest actions that we can do as humans that can have the biggest impact, and every single one of us have that power. That's the real power. We never run out of love. We never run out of love. But why are so many people not willing to give it or show it? You know? And I don't say that from a judgmental tone. It's just, I don't know. It's easier to give love and like compassion because that we don't have to pay for it. It's intrinsic, right? And it's the stuff that really matters, you guys, at the end of the day, you know? So yeah, I think that just came off of talking about rock and roll. All we need is love.
The Beatles.
Yeah, I was gonna say it, but I'm all. Yeah, and the Beatles were huge. John Lennon, huge fan of Elvis, and Elvis, the king of rock and roll, grew up listening to gospel, right? Gospel and the James Brown and the artists that shaped him. So it's always so cool when you truly understand how the process works, and then it's easy to get out of your way. You go, and I'm jealous of you guys because you do have this internet access, and you have access. You don't have record labels. If you are pursuing music, you don't have some label, or I remember in high school I got my first 4-track cassette. 4-track. I'd still have it today, but my brother, he's a drummer, and it got stolen out of his rehearsal space. I was like, no! I remember using this little 4-track and creating magic on it. But like, I remember thinking, I just have to get a demo. I have to get a demo done so that I can give it to, A&R guy, record label. I mean, there were these major gateways back then. Now you can just put everything out there on YouTube, whatever channel, and express yourself. That's great. My only concern, y'all, don't do it for fame. Don't do it because you're trying to be rich and money. If you truly want to develop yourself as an artist and be around for a long time, you've got it. It's like a calling. It's in you, and it has a purpose. and human connection and relationships are kind of at the core. Whether you realize that or not at your young age, I think that's what artists realize over time. And the relationship might just be yourself, right? The relationship can be just you and yourself in that reflective state.
Like something inside of you telling you that you have to do this, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Or to just be happy or something like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Wait, the audio was a little jumbled. Can you say that one more time?
I just said that it's like something that calling you, that you have, is saying something inside of you saying, you need to do this, I have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I've heard some of the most extraordinary stories from students, especially high school, where they've been saying, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And they've been saying that all through elementary and middle school. And then all of a sudden that their gut starts to tell them something different because they're having new experiences. And now they're at a crossroads, right? And who knows what that looks like, but you are something else, just a tip. The arts, the most important thing every human is doing as an artist, I think, is designing their life. You're designing your life. We live in this amazing land of the free. Is it perfect? No, because it's made by humans. Hello, created by humans, right? That run everything. And so like, however, with that being said, we live in this country with an amazing constitution that gives us so much freedom of choice and decision. And so your choice, every single one of them, don't overthink it to where you get in your own way, but think about it and follow that gut. Follow what you're passionate about. You know, if you would have asked me in high school, and I tell this funny story all the time, in high school, I was like, the one thing I know I will never be, and I would say it like that, the one thing I know I will not be is a high school teacher. I'm a high school teacher.
And here you are.
Well, when I was on year-round track all through elementary, I remember like 3 years straight, I would play school in my room by myself for hours. I remember my grandma telling my mom when she'd pick me up, I overheard her, she played school by herself the whole time. Like they were concerned. And I'm thinking, well, I obviously loved it. So think about what you do where you lose yourself. You know, for me, it was music too. I started writing songs when I was in second grade. Think about those things you do where you forget about time. You forget to eat. We've talked about this in the art scene, and you don't forget to eat. Like, you need to eat, obviously, but you lose yourself. That's your path, because you will work so hard that when the door closes and you have setbacks and challenges and it's not easy, you'll keep going because you've got this inner fire, and it makes sense to you. It's your calling, versus feeling resentment. That's what happens when you do things for other reasons. Like, well, I got to do this just because it's going to make mom happy, dad. It's what they expect. Well, not to be heavy, but again, I teach the arts, so we talk real. The way life is supposed to be is children are supposed to outlive their parents, right? I have a 6-year-old. I hope she outlives me, so that later, you know, she's looking back on her life and she's proud that she designed her own life, and she's not thinking about mom and she only did what I was expecting her to do. Because then she might hate me. She might resent me later and go, dang, I'm not happy, and I only did this because mom made me. And that's where parents, I love parents. I'm not slamming parents. We all understand where they're coming from. They love you. They want to help. It's just like teachers. We disagree with teachers sometimes. So that's where I say judge. If you're gonna judge in any ounce of it, I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say. If you are going to do that, be really clear about seeing their intention. Say, I get it. I know why they're saying that. They mean well for me. They just don't understand what I'm going through inside, what I feel, right? And that's why nobody knows what your gut is telling you. That's why you design your life, following that intuition, you know?
When you were talking about parents, it reminded me of my parents. My dad always telling me that when I grow up, the most important thing is for me to be happy in my job. It doesn't matter if it earns a lot of money or anything. So always like, I'm gonna have a job where I don't want the money, so I don't have to worry. And he always tells me more important if you're happy.
Yeah. because your happiness, your enthusiasm will feed the people you work with, your family that you live with. It will rise everybody up. You know, it's tough. I commend people. Like my husband and I always say, there's people that live to work, and there's people that work to live. No judgment. So again, you know, and everybody has a different vision for themselves and what lifestyle they have. And that's cool. You know, I think it's amazing that we all look very different and we all have different goals. That's what makes the world go around, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to really value everybody's choice and support. It's so simple, right? It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's what they chose for themselves. And if they didn't, then support them changing it. You know, how often do people that have been in relationships for a long time and they're like, you're not the person, or even teenagers, their parents are like, you're changing. You're not the person you used to be.
Yeah.
Or even my parents, God bless them, my parents were amazing, but they weren't amazing wife and husband. So they got a divorce when I was in high school. And that broke me. That's when I really got into songwriting. And because I thought my parents of 27 years married would never get a divorce. Never say never, right? And so these are, again, life experiences that humans go through. And oh my gosh, I just forgot why I brought that up. Welcome to live. Oh, why did I bring this up? No. It had such a cool, it was building on what you guys were saying. What did you say, Cindy?
Oh, I was just saying that my dad always tells me to be happy in what I do. Oh, and he always says that he doesn't see work as work because he works a lot. He has 2 jobs, and he says that he doesn't see work as work. He I don't know how he sees it, but he just says that he doesn't see it as work. He's always so happy.
Yeah, and that's a gift. That's a gift.
Yeah.
You know?
Just like, you know, work with your passions, like what you're passionate about. Just, you know, make a living out of it.
Yeah, it's not fun to see people struggle. And I do relate to the whole growing up with the performing arts, like, you know, there were sabotage, like, because everybody's going for the part, you know, the one part. So, you know, put the push pins. I danced too, and I put the tacks in the dancer's shoes, you know, during the audition. Like things to sabotage. I personally never did it. These are just stories that you would hear in cutthroat competition. But you know, I'm so glad that there's so much more data and research and proof of how societies evolve and really thrive when people build on each other's value and don't let people struggle. You know, that's just, none of us want to be there, and none of us know why anybody gets there, right? And so,
like, people think that the main roles are like the only roles, but like if they think about like something like, I'm gonna say an instrument, like there's many different parts of it in order to make it sound beautiful, and like each part is important. Like something falls out of the instrument, it's not gonna sound the same at all. So each person in the play is very important. It doesn't matter what role you get, you're contributing.
Yeah, I would. Oh my gosh, yeah. One of my favorite awards to see received is the supportive role, more than the lead role. Like the best actor award goes to. I really like to see the supportive roles the most, because the people who were supporting allowed that actor or actress to really get to where they needed to get. None of us get there by ourselves. We're standing on the shoulders of a lot of people, you know, no matter what industry we go into. And so that gratitude and that awareness and looking around you. And again, sometimes it's just yourself. You feel alone, but don't give up on yourself. It's you. You're there. You've got a connection. So journal, write, do something to stay connected with yourself. And then if you got one person that you can trust, that's enough. Trust me. You know, I'm fortunate. I've had my friendship too with my childhood friend for 44 years now, almost 45. We have baby pictures together. And so that's where I was going with the whole my parents divorcing. They wouldn't let each other like evolve. Do you know what I mean? And change and try new things. They like, sometimes we get around people and they want us to stay. Friendships do that too. It's like, why are you changing? I had that happen when Nirvana came out in the 90s, and hello, that was my high school life. And that when grunge came on the scene, I remember exactly where I was when I first heard Smells Like Teen Spirit. I was walking across campus. I heard the ding, 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 ding. I, to this day, remember what the sun, where it was in the sky. I looked across and I was like, what is that sound? It sounded so different. I had never even heard anything. It was the Seattle grunge sound that was brand new. And then I started listening to Nirvana and going, oh my God. So yes, I got sucked into the grunge and then, yeah, I had a safe place to let out what I was going through. But my parents struggled because they wouldn't let each other, they wouldn't listen and let each other evolve
Like
the way
change
that
together.
felt. Yeah. You know, and it doesn't always happen at the same time. It's just, it's kind of, it's hard. Relationships are tough, but that's why I say you only need one or two. Don't worry about how many friends.
Changing. It reminds me of this was when I was in a brick and mortar school. There was this, I think I was in middle school in 7th grade, and I just came back from having my appendix taken out because I was dealing with all the stomach problems, which is why I had to leave brick and mortar school. And I remember, coming back from surgery. It felt like such a long time for me, but it was like only a couple of days, and I went back to school. And I just see that all my friends are like very different for some reason. I'm like, what happened? They weren't like wearing sweatpants or like sweaters anymore. They were wearing like clothes, like girly clothes, wearing more makeup on. I was like, what happened when I was gone?
To the trends. That's what happened. Fashion trends.
Like some of my friends, I lost a lot of friends during that period, and I was like when I came back, I feel like I lost all of them. So I remember just going to the library and spending time there, which also caused me to lost more. I just remember everyone changing. I feel like that's about just reminding me of everyone changing.
Change is tough, and I am so in awe of you right now, Cindy, because you are demonstrating what it's like to be an artist. You're being real. You're trusting. You're sharing. That is, again, you can't put a price on that gift. And I promise you, like, this will resonate. I know it's going to resonate with me. And I love the fact that we get to connect in the club. So throughout our time together, I can tell you ways that your story adds value to my own life and whatever it is that I'm working on, you know? And so change is tough. Humans just really don't like change because it makes us work, especially if we get lazy, you know, but change is again, it's paramount to progress and evolving. Otherwise, that's where I say, like, as much as I loved my last job, loved it. I was crying when I made the decision to leave and come to Elite, because I was thinking of the students and the relationships. But for me, as again, an artistic soul, creative person, I know that I need change to grow. I know I need scary, uncharted territory. And this is it. Because believe me, I've said also, I don't think visual arts could ever be taught virtually. Like, I have said that many times. I don't understand how that could be done. Well, great. This is an awesome challenge for me. And I am so honored and grateful to be here getting to do that. You know? So again, that's just my story. I'm never, ever trying to push anybody in a certain way. It's just, I think we just all need somebody to listen so that we can better listen to ourselves when those times come, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When you talk about grow, when I moved to, I didn't move, but I mean, when I changed schools to online school, the first year, I didn't join any clubs or anything. I wasn't even sure. I just spent time just reading and doing things I was doing when I was in 7th grade, which caused me to lose a lot of friends because I was like sticking my nose in a book for so long and forgetting about them, and like watching series and forgetting about them. But then when I was in this year, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna push myself. I'm back outside.
Well,
I'm very a vulnerable person. I don't want to share that.
I was just gonna say, Cindy, what I've learned about you in the short amount of time in the art scene club, as well as the chorus, you have a huge heart. Betsy, I've observed you have a huge heart as well. So guess what? I used to say this a lot, and I've changed my mind because that's what you do when you go through life and you have new experiences. Your mind changes, right? You new research, new data. I used to say, don't worry about what anybody thinks. Like, who cares what anybody thinks, right? We hear that a lot. Who cares what they think? I have a huge heart too. I know that. That doesn't work with me. It really doesn't. I could tell myself, don't care, but I can't not care. So it's part of who I am. It's part of my personality that I've accepted. And so when I accepted that and understood it, I'm like, okay, it's fine. I do care about them and I wish them well. They don't understand me. That's all it is. And maybe they don't want to be around me right now or whatever it is. I had the similar experience in high school, Cindy, when I changed and went grunge. And then all my like athletic friends were like, well, what you doing? You know, and I was having a personal growth spurt, which are never pretty. You know, growing pains. There's a reason why we call them growing pains. And so people didn't understand, and that's okay. How could they understand? How could they? They can't, right? So we're sometimes we're applying inhuman characteristics to humans, right? Even ourselves. So it's just, again, it's why the arts are so amazing, because it validates where we are, measures it.
When someone leaves, like either a friendship or a relationship, you're just grateful for the time you spent with them, and then you're ready for the next person. Ready for the next person.
I would reenact one of my first heartbreaks. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
I would reenact in our drama class. I would reenact my first heartbreak. I was in a fetal position, 9th grade year, crying. I remember like just sobbing like a baby in the fetal position. Like life will not go on. I was so heartbroken because I love big. And I encourage you all to love big. You will get your heart broken, but it's the best experience because you really loved. You really experienced it and you allowed yourself to trust. So exactly what you said, Cindy. So when the right, I don't want to say right people, but when your next relationships develop, they're going to feel so much better because you have a better gauge now of not judging them, but just following your gut. And I've too many crazy stories. When, you know, I met my husband that night, I was like, I just met the guy I'm going to marry. I know it because I've had my heart broken a lot. And so it's like experience, right? Kind of helps in any situation, you know?
I haven't been in any relationship, only friendships. I remember
same thing.
In 7th grade, I remember it was kind of like I got my heart broken because like I remember coming back to this group. I was friends with them since 5th grade, and I was into sixth grade when I was. And then I remember sitting down on the bench, and I told her where the rest of the kids, oh, well, not kids, I mean friends, and she told me that I was out of the group. I remember I think I just left, and I went into the bathroom, and I just started crying so much. I didn't want her to see me crying at all, so I just started walking.
Right. And Cindy, it's so hard. And the beauty in your story is that every single human can relate. It might not be the same grade that you were at, but everybody experiences loss or rejection. But one of the EQ questions I've always thrown out to students in high school, and we'll kind of close with this because I know I talk a lot, but what's worse, rejection or regret? And most students say rejection without really thinking about it. They're like, rejection because it hurts, it's painful. But then when they really start thinking about it, and by the end of the year, when I ask that question again, it's like regret would be worse, because what if they didn't even experience any of that? Going back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, life is short. It flies by. I love that you guys are doing this podcast and inspiring myself and so many of our elite students and their families and our staff. You're courageous. You know, you're allowing this connection, human connection, to happen for so many people. And the best part is you won't know. You won't know all the people you affect or impact. We don't get that as humans in life. So remind yourself that too. You know, just because the group pushes you out, you have no idea how many other people you have impacted. So really sit with that and trust that, because your intentions and your hearts are so huge that I promise you that is what is happening, you know?
Yeah. And I'm gonna have to ask one last question.
Yeah. Cut me off. Get the. I always
Yeah, sorry, but yeah, like I've seen a demo of what students can do during classes, and it got me hooked. Like, students can open up and stuff like that. So I know I'm interested. I want to go to one of your clubs now, and I know other students listening to this podcast would like to go.
Club. It's not my club. It's a students' club. You have to correct that. This is not Mrs. C's club.
Okay.
Students' club. It will be what you guys design it and really make it. So yeah, keep going.
And I know that other students will want to join. So I would like to know how students can join the clubs.
Okay, they can definitely, I think the easiest way, they go to our website, Parent Square, like they're all posted on Parent Square. I think that's the easiest from the student's perspective, right, Cindy?
Mm-hmm.
Might be easier for you, Cindy, to answer this.
I mean, you just click the link on there and then it's there.
Yeah, Parent Square. Email me, please. Like that would be a really direct way for students to get accurate, quick information. aciceri at eliteacademic.com. Again, aciceri at eliteacademic.com. Talk to your educational, your teachers, each student, whoever your teacher is, tell them, say, hey, I'm interested in meeting that club, because all of the elite educators, they definitely are so amazing at supporting and helping students get to where their interests are. So, does that make sense?
Yeah. All right, then. Well, we're going to end the podcast with this. Yay. It was so interesting talking with you, Ms. Ciceri, and I thank you for joining on. And thank you, Cindy Lou, for coming along too. And yeah, like you could listen to the podcast wherever you listen to other podcasts, like Spotify, SoundCloud. It's down below with the banner, as you can see. And make sure to check us out on YouTube and stuff like that. And I hope to see you in the next episode. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Peace and love. Thank you, guys.
Hello, wonderful people. Do you like watching people act in movies and over plays? Do you like to interpret the deeper meaning of a story? And most importantly, do you like to share your interpretations and ideas with your classmates? Here at Elite Academy's Creative Club, The Art Scene, we want to invite you to join us in our fun activities. Our activities mainly focus on sharing our interpretations of a piece of art to our classmates, like what we think about a song, a picture, a painting, or even a drawing. But I'm here to promote our one-word scene summary. It's pretty simple, really. The leader of the activity or another classmate that's participating in it will choose a scene from a movie, video, or play and present it to their classmates. The presenter will have a word or phrase that they think represents the message or emotion that is in the scene. Then the participants share their thoughts about the scene and guess the word or phrase. Here's an example of what it may look like.
I think the word is groovy because the pineapple has an aura of being the cool cat of the group in the scene.
To build off what my classmate said, I feel the pineapple is trying to impress the other fruits by being groovy. But I think the phrase cool cat is what describes the emotion in this scene.
Yeah, cool cat gives off a more clear meaning than groovy. But there has to be a deeper message within the scene. Don't you agree?
There is definitely a deeper meaning.
Looks pretty cool, right? I would join that discussion 100%. So what do you think? Want to see some cool scenes your classmates found and talk about them together? Come join us at The Art Scene. Psst, we'll make sure the school doesn't spam your inbox with our meeting reminders. See you there!